Our next speaker is the current chairperson of the Sierra Club Central Florida Group. She's been a volunteer activist and an executive board member for 15 years. Please welcome Marjorie Holt.
Thank you. Yes, we are organized volunteer. We are really organized, so we don't have to deal with labor issues. So it's good for us. But yes, thank you for the opportunity to join the ranks with the CWA folks. Here locally, we've been aware of the Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiations going on, but it's a good opportunity to act locally. So I would just like to acknowledge Cecilia Height. She is one of our executive committee members and our chair. And Mary Slater is chair of our outings. We have great outdoor opportunities. And my talk, I'd like to give you a little bit of a background and where we are today and what you can do here locally to help you meet this, or at least get greater labor rights and environmental trade agreements. I'll start out with some action that took place in August of 2012. 10 environmental organizations, and they're large ones, sent a letter to Ronald Kirk, who is the United States Trade Representative, and this is in Washington, D.C. And this letter, these environmental organizations call for a strong and binding environment chapter of the TPP. There are about 25 chapters within this trade partnership, covering economic, labor, environment, anyway, there's a whole host of them. And so this was a very good letter. In October 17, 2012, 10 U.S. congressmen sent a letter to Ron Kirk. And these senators call for an environment chapter that guarantees the ongoing sustainable trade and one that creates jobs. And I have copied these if anybody would like to see them. Elena Solomon is the Sierra Club trade representative who is in Peru as we speak. And she was gracious enough, when she found out that I would be speaking tonight, sent me just a few of her notes. She had a House briefing to the Progressive Caucus. And it is very lengthy, but the bottom line is the United States needs to advance a very strong, legally binding and legally enforceable proposal that calls for a ban on trade in illegally harvested timber and timber products, which is a major issue in TPP countries, with devastation to the environment and to the U.S. global economy. Also calls for a ban on trade in illegally taken wildlife, such as rhino horns from Vietnam and tiger parts from Malaysia. Vietnam has little to none. I don't think there's any environmental regulations for labor controls. And they're actually a very ominous country to have in this partnership, go along with Japan. And Sierra Club has also called on enhanced fisheries management and elimination of fisheries subsidies. We just showed a movie the other night, The End of the Line, how countries are allowed to just fish, well, the bluefin tuna is pretty much almost to extinction, but the subsidies that allow all this fishing to go on, it's really a bad issue. There has been a Sierra Club press release, and attached to it is an 11-page letter to the United States Trade Representative. So he's certainly heard a lot from us. And this Sierra Club press release calls for participating nations to ensure that governments have the flexibility to put in place new climate solutions and strengthen existing ones, including fee-in tariffs, a carbon cap or tax, and clean energy and energy efficiency standards without constraint or without threat of trade litigation. And trade litigation is unfortunately a looming issue if this TPP passes. They also want participating nations to prevent the unchecked export of fracked gas from the U.S., and the agreement must retain the ability of the nation's Department of Energy to review, condition, or if necessary, deny exports of fracked gas from the U.S. to the European Union countries so as to protect American families' best interests from unregulated natural gas development. The next item is to exclude investor-state dispute settlement, which would elevate foreign corporations to the level of nations and allow them to sue governments in private tribunals over laws and policies that the companies claim dispute their bottom lines. So they say they're going to have a loss over being denied a project, they can turn around this. Mexico, a few years back, was sued, I think, to the tune of $90 million for not approving a, hazardous waste landfill area, and that company turned around and sued, and Mexico had to pay out settlement. And the other item is negotiate with transparency and allow opportunities for meaningful public and congressional input and participation in trade agreements. The Sierra Club also has some good information about the explosion of fracking. And it's kind of actually a good way to say that, because in many communities, those folks that their water table is connected to the fracking activities, their water out of their faucets has caught on fire. And one lady's had this huge explosion in her backyard. It was absolutely horrible. I think it just devastated everything. So I'll read a little bit of what the Sierra Club is saying about one of the dirtiest secrets of the Trans-Pacific Partnership Free Trade Agreement. The United States is quietly negotiating an expansive trade agreement with 10 other countries that could dramatically increase exports of liquefied natural gas to overseas markets without any domestic oversight. The Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement, therefore, would increase dirty fracking and carbon emissions, put sensitive ecological areas at risk, and increase natural gas and electricity prices, thereby impacting consumers, manufacturers, workers, and increasing the use of dirty coal power. And one of our main agendas has been to put these old power plants out of commission and move forward with clean energy options. The Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. This agreement is an expensive new trade agreement being negotiated between countries in the Pacific Rim, including Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, Vietnam, and the United States, and just recently Japan was added. Because the TPP is intended as a docking agreement, other Pacific Rim countries can join over time. Japan, the world's largest natural gas importer, has formally announced its intention to join the talks. The TPP touches on a broad range of issues: the environment, workers and jobs, access to medicines, and more. For example, every indication is that the TPP would allow foreign corporations to sue governments directly for unlimited cash compensation in foreign tribunals, almost over any domestic, environmental, or other law that the corporation believes is hurting its ability to profit. And by offering special benefits to firms that relocate investment and jobs to other countries, the TPP could incentivize offshoring or good-paying jobs to low-wage nations and undercut working conditions globally. And this is huge. This is around the world. Despite the impact that the TPP would have on nearly every aspect of our lives, the TPP is being negotiated in near complete secrecy. None of the draft chapters of the agreement have been made public. And apart from TPP government officials, nearly the only people with access to the text are more than 600 business representatives who serve as officials to U.S. traders. And so, how does the TPP increase fracking? Well, in order for the United States to export natural gas to another country, the Department of Energy, known as the DOE, must first conduct a thorough public analysis to determine whether these exports are consistent with the public interest. This analysis is critical to understanding the environmental and economic impacts associated with natural gas exports and to building a deliberate energy policy that protects the interests of the American public. Unfortunately, the DOE loses its authority to regulate exports of natural gas to countries with which the United States has a free trade agreement. That includes so-called national treatment for trading gas. So already the DOE is considering applications to export approximately 45% of total U.S. domestic gas production. It would likely cause an increase in natural gas and electricity prices up to 3 times their current price, and by some estimates, impacting consumers, manufacturers, and workers while increasing the use of dirty coal. So the environmental impacts of natural gas would be that importing natural gas is polluting at every stage of its life cycle. The process begins with extracting the gas, the vast majority of which will come from fracking, and this is hydraulic fracking. In an intrusive process, fracking involves pumping millions of gallons of a mixture of water, sand, and chemicals, and some of these chemicals are like a proprietary combination to these corporations, and they get to inject anything they want. So these chemicals get injected underground to create pressure which forces out natural gas. The fracking process can spew large amounts of hazardous, smog-forming, and climate-altering air pollutants into our air, and it is also linked to serious threats to our water supply. Fracking operations also disrupt forests, parks, and communities across the country as they spread across the landscape. So these impacts don't stop here. Once the gas is extracted, it needs to travel from production sites to coastal export terminals through hundreds of miles of pipelines. Whether exporters are expanding old pipelines or building new ones, these major construction projects can cut across private property, public land, further fragmenting landscapes and increasing pollution. There's also problems with the natural gas export terminals. These terminals require dredging of sensitive estuaries to make room for massive liquid natural gas tankers. This expands facilities and ship traffic will take their toll on coastal communities and the environment. Then there's also the, finally, while some of us tout natural gas is a clean, safe way to provide energy, it's not that at all. By the time it gets cooled and liquefied and shipped and overseas and reaches its destination, it makes its carbon footprint just as dirty as coal. And so there are some things that you can do here locally. There is a site on the United States Trade Representatives, this is a U.S. site, and there's an email, a nice email to these people and let them know these are our trade representatives, and this is a list of them. The Sierra Club has take fracking out of our trade agreements. And this can just be filled out. I posted it on our Sierra Club, our local Facebook. You just fill it out, hit the button, and it goes to President Barack Obama. And it has a message on there. And I don't know, Congressman Grayson may mention this, but he also has a link that you can fill out. And his is help stop treachery. And so that has a direct link with the information there. So if anybody has any comments, feel free to contact.
Is that on Grayson's Facebook page as well?
I don't know if it's on his Facebook, but I found it on a website. And there is, I got the link. It's http trade, TREACHERY.com. TradeTreachery.com.
We are going to take questions at the end, or if Alan Grayson is late, we'll take them before he arrives. But let's continue to move the program.
So thank you. That's it. Appreciate it.